So as spring is coming up and getting in full swing, join us as we go over 15 things that you need for your spring garden. All right, so to start off with, pretty simple, but sometimes you don't think of it, is you're gonna need some hand tools. In this case, you want a nice hand shovel, maybe a little fork that you can rake things up with, those kind of things. But these can be super helpful, especially if you have raised garden beds and you don't want to get your huge shovel in there. And to go along with hand tools, next you're going to need some good gloves. These can be really expensive. Like, I had no idea until I got some. But for example, some of these leather gloves are upwards of $20-something. But they are so helpful because they will save your hands and blisters and stuff on them and really help you. So it's worth the investment. Number 3 would be muck boots or wader boots, depending on what you want to call them that day. These things are large plastic boots that can protect your feet from water, mud, getting into about a foot deep of water without getting your feet wet. These are especially useful if you have ducks, chickens, that kind of stuff, because it can get a little muddy if it rains, and especially if you're emptying ponds and that kind of thing. So I highly recommend getting you a pair, and you can get them at the link below. Number 4 is a good pair of pruning shears. These things can be helpful more so later in the season, but you want to get them now because they can help you prune up and get your plants in good order. These things you can get in multiple different styles, but basically you want the curved blade and some nice comfortable handles. They can range anywhere from $13 to $20, so just get something that fits in your budget and something that you're comfortable using quite a bit. And number 5 is going to be a good garden rake. These things are super useful because they can help rake up leaves, mulch, to either clean up your garden and get ready to plant stuff, or at the end of the season, they can help you to just rake out things and just make it look nice and decent. But either way, you definitely need one, and they're not too bad, 20-something bucks. Number 6 is a watering wand. These things can be super helpful. They just go on the end of your hose, and you can control how much water comes out. Especially if you don't have a drip system, these are super necessary because it just saves your back. Number 7 is a drip watering kit. Yes, you can get the kits. Here's an example of one that you can get. It's about $60 here at Lowe's, and this basically has everything you need to get started with setting up a drip system for in-garden and raised garden beds. And then you can just build off this with getting extra parts as you need it. But these are super helpful to get you started. Number 8 is a soil moisture meter. They're out of them here, but you can get them on Amazon or probably most other Lowe's stores. These are super helpful because they can help you determine how much you actually need to water your soil, because you may be unknowingly giving it too much water or not enough. So these can be super helpful to help guide you at least. And number 9, which is what's called a rabbiting spade. You may not see it called that, but basically it's going to be a short-handled shovel like this, and the blade is going to be curved and pretty long. It can help you to dig up plants and stuff like that, or dig up sections where you can plant your soil and put the plants in eventually. It can be super helpful to put your plants in. Number 10 is something called a cultivator. This thing I actually didn't know about until recently, but it's kind of like a pitchfork that's turned on its side, and it's a lot smaller. This thing is good for ripping out just shallow sections of dirt in your garden or garden beds and just tearing it up so that way it's nice and loose and the soil can drain effectively. This thing has actually been super useful, and I highly recommend everyone who has a garden, especially raised garden beds, to get one of these cultivators. And number 11 is a wheelbarrow. I know it's pretty self-explanatory, but this thing can save you a ton of time and energy and your back. So they can be a little pricey, but don't cheap out on these. This is actually the model that we have, and we got it a while back. But if you don't have one, consider picking one up because it can help you hugely by helping transport firewood to mulch to feed to anything and make it so much easier. Number 12, seeds. Make sure you get plenty of seeds and make sure you plan out for what you're going to plant, and then you can get your seeds either here at Lowe's, online like Amazon or Burpees. All right, for the last 3, they're actually not going to be here at Lowe's. You can get some of them in things like Walmart or your grocery store, but I highly recommend just checking them out in Amazon, and the links will be below for all of these things. So to continue here, number 13 will be a bucket caddy. Now these things are amazing, especially if you're doing work outside or in your garden, to take seeds, shovels, hand tools, that kind of stuff out with you all in one trip. Because there's nothing worse than walking out to your garden and having to go back to the garage to get something, go back to your garden, go back and forth a ton of times. This thing will help save you because it will take all of it out there with you. You can put a ton of stuff in it and reuse it for construction, gardening, all sorts of things. Number 14 will be a garden binder of some form. This is where you're going to put a bunch of things in there that you can keep inside of your house. So not only can you plan out what you want in your garden, what kind of seeds, what kind of vegetables, what kind of plants, flowers, all of that stuff, but you'll actually mark it out with each section of where you want each thing to be. And that way, when you start harvesting things, you can remember what the different types of, pumpkins or squash or whatever were in different sections of your yard fairly easily by looking at your binder. You can also keep things in there like we do, like Farmer's Almanac, to help track things like historical rainfalls and temperatures, that kind of stuff, and put that in that binder. And number 15, last but not least, be what's called a hoary garden knife. We just got one of these, and these are super awesome. You can find these online. I didn't find one in Lowe's, but they are super helpful. These go along with your pruning shears, but it can be used for a lot more things. It's just a basic knife that you can cut things with. You can cut your vines if you need to prune your vines. You can cut your tree limbs if you need to, small ones, if you need to, prune them. You can use it for a lot of different things. You can use it for opening the soil up to put seeds down. It just has so many different uses there. So helpful that you can keep it with you and even keep it in your garden caddy. But that is super helpful. So hopefully this was helpful to you guys. If you guys need any of the things we talked about below, we will link to the Amazon version of the product below. If you guys have any questions, have something that I missed that you think you should get for gardening in the spring, make sure to put it in the comments below. And if you aren't subscribed, please consider clicking on the subscribe button. Thanks again, and we'll see you next week.